Hey moguls, it's Dr. T here, and we're focused today on some upgrades that are going to take you from your struggle self to your top mogul self. So you can be a powerful creator, influencer that's wealthy, healthy, successful, and positively contributing to society. And we're going to do that today through detoxing your lower self so that your higher self can absolutely run the program, run the reality, and you can have complete access to that higher self so it can play out its absolute most amazing destiny, taking you through your higher trajectory. And this is a complete game changer. So stay tuned because we're going to go through the steps needed so you can detox your lower self and let your higher self emerge. Number one, let's just connect to the fact that there's a lot of programming that has come into you and your world osmotically to yourself, to the environment you live in. And it's a lot of programming since you were a wee one. Some of it's good. The stuff that's coming from the universe that's saying, these are these amazing things I want to do. These are my dreams. These are my purpose. Your human design and what you really are and what you were born to do and the purpose of you is here to create all these amazing things and fulfill your dreams and uh, live your purpose and bring it to the world, these innovations and creations. You're here to be a creator, a very powerful one, and an amazing, healthy, wealthy influencer. And you've got really crappy programming as well that's been coming in since the very beginning of you, making you think that you are your lower self when your higher self, your mogul self, is inside of you trying to come out. It's like, please let me out of here. I want to go live my dreams. They seem so big, but it's only because I'm in my little lower self. And your dreams are actually something very capable of achieving when you detox your lower self and move into your higher self. So, how do we detox that? How do we go and how do we let our lower self detox and effectively dissolve when we want to live as our higher self, our mogul self, and allow that self to live so that the lower self doesn't keep recreating the lower reality and then wondering, why do I keep reliving this even though I'm working my ass off on this hard work prescription I'm being given? But somehow I keep reliving the same thing over and over again. That's because you've got programming of the lower self. Some people refer this as the not self, the shadow self. And if you haven't gotten your human design chart, it's important to do so. And I'm going to tell you to do that in a second. And that is because your self is created to express its higher capacity. It has codes and designed to express that higher self, but it also has codes to express the lower self. We're not supposed to live as that lower self. We're supposed to actually know that if we start to experience that lower self, it tells us we got to reprogram, we got to raise our frequency, we got to get higher in our own self, we got to get higher with the people around us because we've gone too low down the frequency. If you have not gotten your human design chart and know exactly what your human design is and who you are and what you're here to create, you can go to one of our resources. It's my website, theempirecompany.com. Click on the human design tab, enter a teeny bit of info on you. You're going to get your human design chart for free. There'll also be other links in the description here about how to get more info on your human design. We're actually building an app with the company. So we want to express the high level of our human design, our higher self, what I refer to as our mogul self, our most powerful, positively influential self. So we got to be willing to detox that lower self. And just like we do when we are going to detox some other, not the thing that is not good for us, be it sugar, be it alcohol, be it whatever it is. It might be your father, your mother, it might be whatever it is. It might be just some aspect that you need to detox from your life. This is what needs to happen as well. So we need to understand that the lower self is in a lower frequency, has lower frequency programming that is expressing itself. And that lower self is also the one that's just taken in all the negative programming, likely gotten overburdened by it. It's too much. It's like increased and gotten to like toxic levels. And then the way most people are getting lots of low level programming is through other human beings and what they're expressing in their just energy system, let alone what they say and their dysfunction and stagnancy and all of that stuff, their negativity. So we got to know that if we're in our lower self, we need to detox that being so that our higher self can just like emerge, like, oh my God, let me out of here, like through all this haze, let me live, let me be, let me just breathe, let me be free. That's because that self is inside of there. And that's the one that's like going, oh my God, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want that life, I don't want this one. But it's like in a fog of like the lower selves energy and all the crap that it's been taking in. So just like we do, if we imagine we were detoxing from sugar or junk food or something, we would 100% put ourselves in an environment, create systems and mechanisms so that we do it differently. So again, I'm just going to use an example of sugar detoxification because it's a simple one, and not everyone's used to detoxing from like alcohol or any of these things, but a lot of people know that sugar is bad for you, so we're just going to use that. So when we're detoxing our lower self, so our higher self can just emerge and live and be like the one running the show and then receiving all the great resources. So remember, higher self, when it's higher, it receives higher levels of resources. Lower self naturally goes along with it. It receives lower levels. So we got to raise ourselves into that higher self. And the detoxification process is to literally put yourself into as much of a bubble as you can in what is higher self programming. So if we want to detox from our lower self and be our higher self, we don't go watch ridiculous programming that we're all guilty of. I mean, I hate to say it, I was watching a lot of garbage TV when I was younger because we're brought up on it. We're taught to do it. I also, even though I've got great people in my life, was hanging out in low level dynamics in certain relationships, in certain relations that was just really lower self stuff. It was their lower self being like, we're going to do this lower self thing. And me being like, well, I'm related to you, so this is what I have to do. So we got to detox that stuff out of our life so we can be in our higher self. Our frequency starts to raise. And just like, again, I'm going to go through an example, and you probably have something you've detoxed from. But if I take the sugar thing and you start to, you remove it from your home, you remove it from the cupboards, you're not saying yes to 5,000 things. You're not going like, oh, I'm going to go to a eat-a-thon dessert at a bakery, to when I'm detoxing from sugar. When we're detoxing from our lower self, so our higher self can emerge from that fog and run the show and be that mogul and be the mogul self, well, we got to put ourselves in some level of an intentional environment, call it a bubble, so that what's around you is higher level beings, higher level reality. And we've got to detox from all the things that that lower self has been bringing into its world because it matches up with the lower being. Because remember, reality is just a holograph, which means a expression of our inner programming. That's why some of it's good and represents our dreams and our greatest desires and all that and our intentions, and some of it represents an absolute nightmare and it's terrifying. So I want you to think about, connect with, and make a list of all the things in your reality that represent your lower self and what your lower self has been creating. And you're going to just let the answer come. You're going to be like, this is what my lower self is creating. I'm just going to and I'm going to say, let's go with 10 things. We're going to keep it simple for right now. You can make more, but we're going to start with 10. So it could be dysfunctional friends. It could be friends that don't value me. It could be friends that don't let me be honest about being me. Um, it could be eating garbage. It could be watching, crap. It could be debt. It could be any number of things that your lower self is creating. It could be a mess in your house. It could be uh, some sort of some sort of chaos, some sort of difficulty that is just what you're going to recognize when you ask yourself and just write it on a document. You can write it on a piece of paper if you want, but I love a Google Doc. The things that my lower self is creating is, boom, list 10. Let yourself just say them. Do not overthink them. Just go. And if you need to prime yourself again, because you run out of them, which I don't think you will, you'll say, the things my lower self are creating are, and if you say it out loud, it's going to go right there. It's going to go struggle. It's going to go trouble, whatever it is. Fighting, arguing, resenting, being jealous, whatever it is, you're going to recognize that this is what your lower self has been creating. You're going to recognize that again. I'm just going to use this example because it's such a big one. But say your network of people that are in your reality, could be friends, could be whatever group of people this is. Let's get real that these are a representation of your programming and what's in that mix. So say, for example, it's a lot of people who kind of stay stuck, don't have that many goals and dreams, and sort of just live out the same groundhog life and are frustrated and miserable and complaining and in bad relationships and drama, whatever it might be. Or they're gossiping or something like that. You're going to connect to the understanding of what your not self, your lower self is creating. And you're just going to get really clear about it. And you're going to go, okay, that self has been creating this. Let's get real. And we're going to go into our higher self, our mogul self. And we're going to move more in that direction, which is how the other self and parts of the self that have been the lower parts get dissolved because they get replaced with what the new reality is. So then I'm going to have you take that list and then you're going to put the things that I want or the things that I intend my higher self to create. You got two lists. The things I intend my higher self to create. You're going to put you're going to list 10 of them. If you run out, you're going to say it again. The things I want my higher self to create are boom. And you're going to look at what those are. And whatever they are, it doesn't matter what it seems like, oh, that's difficult, or I'm over here, and that's the direction you're going to move in. And each month of the year, I should have had you do 12, actually. Let's do 12 and 12. Let's update this exercise. Each month of the year, from here on out, you're going to move in the direction of one of those things. And even though you can move in the direction of all of them right away, this is to keep it as simple as possible. So say it is a new best friend, who is successful, healthy, wealthy, successful, and powerful. And you're going to have that on there. That's your new best friend that you're going toward. You're going to invest that month hanging out in what that would be. You're going to think about it. You're going to feel about it. You're going to do whatever you need to do about it. You're going to watch shows about it. You're going to read about it. You're going to go places where those people are specifically. You're going to join networks that would have that kind of person in it. And you're going to move in that direction, allowing the other self and its former reality to be replaced and upgraded into the new one. So it could be a social club, it could be a tennis group, it could be a book club. It could, and I'm just using this one example, but you're going to literally replace Whatever that other stuff is, doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter how long it's been. This is about being in your higher self and detoxing your lower self so that that self and everything it's creating can be fully upgraded into what you're intending. You're going to move in that direction. So say it is, um, and again, if you do that for 30 days, you're going to get so immersed in that. So you're going to keep doing it after that, but you're going to get so immersed in that that it's going to literally let the other self dissolve. And your invitation is to let that self detox the same way that if you've ever detoxed off of, again, sugar or alcohol or some sort of a food or substance, or you've gone through a breakup, which is just basically a detox. That's all it is. That's why it's so difficult, because you got merged with someone and now you're literally detoxing your energy systems. And it feels like you're dying because you became one. So, and yet we've all come out the other side after we've gone through the detox and emerged a better person. So you're going to allow yourself to go through the discomfort of what happens when you move into a higher reality. And effectively, the previous parts of your old reality, which are just programmed in, which are just things that have been around for a long time, and the effect and the expression of what your lower self was creating, you're going to allow that to literally dissolve from being. You're going to take that you're going to do that each month of the year. You're going to go forward from now, 12 months, you're going to go to the next thing. I think going in order that you wrote them is probably ideal because that was probably the order of their importance. But you can also, rearrange that if you want. But you're going to move forward in that direction and you're going to go to the next one. So say it is a new amazing career. Let's even bet a new business that you're creating. But you've got all this other stuff and other programming, other baggage, and a whole life that represents being more of being a worker. And some people might refer to it in the matrix as a slave. And for that month, because again, it takes 30 days to start to reprogram, and then that programming starts to take over and gain momentum where it's like, okay, this is what you want me to do. I'm going to focus on this. And you're going to go into an immersion. So even if it's just absolutely like going into, say the new career was podcast host, influencer, you're going to move in the direction of that, where for a solid month, you do anything and everything about learning that, connecting with people that are doing that, studying the craft, practicing the craft, learning about it, gaining skills and knowledge from different sources, and really immersing yourself in it so that you can be so far into it. And this is even really before you have to actually go do a bunch of stuff about any of this. The more you go into it as a reality, considering it, connecting with it, getting it in your system. This is what I wish people would understand. You're not going to have to go do so many things that are be like so effortful. It's because it's going to get programmed into your system. It'll get you to do it. So you're going to go really immersive with each of these things, allowing the previous programming to start to fade out, and therefore the previous reality to start to also dissolve itself. So say, for example, you want to do this new career and you haven't even yet addressed, say you're going to transition from a job to being an entrepreneur, to being a mogul. And you go into this new immersion, into this new self, and you let the old self detox, the lower self, and you want to be that mogul self. Sure, we can say you're going to go do a bunch of stuff that takes care of getting you out of that role and whatever it is and whatever the timing is. But what's amazing is when your truth is something new and you immerse yourself in it, it's amazing how that thing starts to dissolve and it starts to take care of itself. And then all of a sudden it'll be saying, oh yeah, we're reorganizing the department and we don't need your position anymore. And you're like, dude, That was so easy. You just saved me a bunch of energy to have to do something. And now I'm a month or more into, because you're going to keep doing this as a regular thing, staying immersed in your intention so you can detox your lower self and be your mogul self and make a much, bigger life and bigger contribution. The really cool thing about that is it doesn't mean you're not going to address things and be responsible, but it starts to take care of itself. Because when we're in something, immersed in it, that is more our truth, more our purpose, it changes us, it transforms us, and it starts to dissolve the lower self out of being and its whole reality that it was creating. So even the thought that you're going to have to like do all this new stuff and then fix all this old stuff, it's amazing how the newer self starts to shift and make the lower self dissolve. So my recommendation, moguls, is you're gonna take everything on that list, and each month, and just give yourself the month of the immersion into that one new thing, knowing that, I know we want things to go faster, and we think if we do all kinds of things, but because you've got to go fully immersive into it, get it so cellularly into your DNA. Whether, say again, you were gonna do a new career as an entrepreneur, or a YouTube creator, or whatever it is, and you go so immersively into that, and you can do plenty about it, but you could also just go immersively into it. You could join a community and just start to get to know everybody that's doing that. The other life is going to dissolve, because otherwise what happens is we think we got to do all this stuff over here and then we'll go over there. And what happens is when we go toward our higher mogul self and its intentions, it detoxes the lower self. It starts to dissolve it. And we also got to be willing for that to happen. Because what I've seen in transformation over the years is people want the new self and the new life and the new reality and all the benefits. But then they want to hold on to this lower self. Like, oh, just in case I need it. It's like hoarding the lower self. Not going to do it. You can't have both of them. Otherwise, you're going to be in a duality. You're going to be bipolar. I'm this and then I'm this. You got to completely be willing. Just like, again, some detox, I'll take the detox off of sugar, that you're willing for that, eventually for that craving to completely dissolve, and to the point where you're just like, what was that all about? Because you let that dissolve from your world. And therefore it isn't running it anymore. All right, moguls. So you're going to make your list of 12, just because we've got the calendar year, wherever we're at in the calendar when you're watching this, just do a full cycle. Because when you do this for a full calendar year, you are immersing in your intentions, in your intentional mogul self, and you are dissolving by virtue of that and detoxing out your lower self out of your system. You're detoxing your lower self, your not self, the low frequency you and its reality out of being, so that you can have all the bandwidth for that higher self and go completely into that immersion. This is something that is so profoundly transformative, and I'm excited for you to have it, because over the years in my coaching company and all the leadership I've done of helping people who are ambitious to be high level moguls, this is a very key piece of the process that helps transform people. It puts them into the future instead of the past, into the higher mogul self instead of the lower self, into the adult self, into the child self. And now you've got a piece of this method. And if you want to learn more about it, you can like and subscribe to this, because then you'll get more of the content from this channel. You can also, and you can see links to all the different resources that I have, different social media channels, my best-selling books. I've got transformative books that are Wall Street Journal best-selling books, and all the resources on my website, the Empire Company, and different websites that we've linked that we're creating in the description for this video. So amazing for all of you to tune in to make the upgrade, to detox your lower self so your higher mogul self can emerge and have the ability to live the life that it's always wanted, and to help it escape from like the fog of the lower self, and where it can just, it just can get overwhelmed, even though it's inside of you. It wants to emerge, and it wants to run the show, and it wants to create an exponential reality for you that is so much easier to run, that even though people are telling you, oh, when things get so big and successful, you'll be overwhelmed. That's the lower self feeling that, and the higher self knows. You could see all the high level moguls got freaking 300 businesses, and they're running it easier than somebody in their lower self with just one job. That's the difference. Because when you're in your higher self, you have all the power and you can harness it. When you're in your lower self, you can barely make it in the small little thing you're doing. All right, moguls, way to take this upgrade in. Way to infuse it in, so this upgrade right here is also detoxing you. Let's allow yourself to go from your lower self to your higher mogul self, and absolutely allow you to ascend on your trajectory and make this most amazing upcoming year of your life, immersing in your intentions and seeing them come into your ultimate reality. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.